Hello, welcome to the next Bible study in John's Gospel. We're in John chapter 16 still at the moment. And I was just looking at the confusion the disciples are in. And this comes out, more and more at this stage. And you realize that as you look at things that so often people are looking at things in natural ways. Jesus is speaking not just of natural things, but he's speaking of things that are to come, which have a whole dimension in the heavenly realm. And so when the disciples are interpreting, trying to understand what's going on, it's actually, very confusing for them, isn't it? That because really, the things that are going on, interpreting the natural realm, don't have a clear understanding. I'm sorry, I'm losing my track of it. There's a lot of noise outside, but yeah, the disciples in that interpretation, in that natural interpretation, it doesn't stack up. It doesn't make sense. And so I just want to look at that in John 16. So we'll look here. Jesus says, "In a little while you will see me no more. Then after a little while you will see me." The disciples, how are they going to um, interpret that? Let's just take the next line a minute, because they start to ask each other, what's he mean by saying, in a little while you'll see me no more, then after a while you will see me, and because I'm going to the Father? So a natural mindset will look at that and go, well, he's going somewhere, and while he's gone, we won't see him. And then he's obviously coming back, so then we'll see him. And then the next natural question to that would be, well, where's the Father live? I thought the Father was in heaven. I don't know if Joseph was still around. Maybe they talked to going and finding Joseph. I don't know. But you can see that the result of what Jesus is saying, because it's not brought by the Spirit in their own hearts, not understood by the Spirit, is just leaving them in this mess, leaving them in this. Um, you know, is a place that they have to go through. I think sometimes we have to realize that when Jesus goes to the cross, he has to be abandoned. Why? Because he's dealing on behalf of us with abandonment. He, the disciples have to leave him, because otherwise he wouldn't be able to take the completeness of everything that he was going to go through on the cross. So yeah, the disciples are on a journey, whether they like it or not, where yeah, they have to go through the rejection or the rejecting of Jesus. They have to, all those things have to play out. And the next question they're asking, what's he mean by a little while? In a little while you'll see me no more. They're like, is he going on holiday next week or the week after? Yeah, it's just it's just confusion after confusion, and it's summed up in that statement, isn't it? We don't understand what he's saying, and it, Jesus is watching this. He's allowing this to brew in their hearts. He's not avoiding the confusion that's going on, and we're told, aren't we? It says the Holy Spirit. We'd learned that the Holy Spirit, the true, guide them and reveal all truth to them, and that's something that's coming, but they haven't got now. So that they've got a bitty picture, a difficult picture, but Jesus doesn't avoid that difficulty. And then Jesus goes on. Jesus saw that they wanted to ask him about this, and he said to them, "Are you asking one another what I mean when I said, in a little while you'll see me no more, then after a while you will see me?" See, we know when we're looking at this, and maybe the next statement actually highlights it even better, because in verse 20 it says, "Very truly I tell you, you will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy." Jesus is laying out a pathway for them. Yeah, and again in verse 22, so now is your time of grief, but I will see you again and you will rejoice and no one will take the joy away. And so Jesus is talking about this transition that's going on, and the disciples have to live the transition. I think so often we can, in our own life with God, we can, even you might get a prophetic word, and the prophetic word seems to have very clear direction, but the prophetic word at that point isn't a lived word. And so often in our journey with God, the pathway isn't straight. It's not what we expect. The unexpected emerges. Things happen that in ways that we don't expect and don't understand. But the fulfillment of the word is sort of uncovered, over a journey. I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like, I think it was a word they received in 2009, and saying it was fulfilled, and they thought it was a historic word describing their situation, but they realised that 2020 that word was relevant to them and fulfilled. And I think prophetic word, there's this journey of fulfillment. It's not necessarily bang, bang, bang. We have to live life. Prophecy isn't meant to be a substitute for living life. Prophecy is the road markings, the signposts. Prophecy will help us in our decisions, but prophecy isn't meant to lay our lives out in such a way that we don't live life. Life is to be explored and to be enjoyed. So here, it could say Jesus is prophesying what's going to happen, but those disciples still had to live it. What did they have to live? The grief, the pain. They were going to see Jesus, go to the cross. They were going to go through the pain of having rejected him. All of them rejected him. They were going to have to go through the pain of his death and the brutality of his death. They were going to have to go through the pain of knowing that he'd been buried. They were going to go through the pain of all their hopes seemingly dashed and gone and finished. They're going to go through the pain of seemingly the whole 3 years, the last 3 years of their life, coming to nothing. They're going through the pain of having seen signs, wonders, miracles, of wondering what it was all about. That's the grief. And they're in that grief while around them there's people celebrating. There's people like, we've dealt with him. So from the world point of view, while there's pain, there's celebration around them. And yet, here's the promise that Jesus makes in the middle of it. The promise is, you'll have pain and grief while others are celebrating. But as it said, I just read it. It says, "I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take it away." The disciples are then going to step into this new phase with Jesus. He prophesied ahead of time. They may not have understood it, but they'll have understood it afterwards. He prophesied ahead of time, that there was a joy that was coming. There was another side. And so you think about the disciples when there was the confusion on the day of the resurrection, because they didn't really understand what was going on, but inside them there was something burning. There's something happening. And then there's that growing realization. There's Thomas and his questioning, and Jesus comes and meets him and answers the questions. All sorts of things go on. And it says Jesus gave many convincing proofs that he was alive. Something in that time changed in the disciples. They knew without doubt that Jesus had been resurrected. So when he went to heaven, they knew that they had to wait. They didn't know what Pentecost looked like, but they knew that their joy, that excitement didn't leave, but they were waiting for the fulfillment of that. So when Jesus comes back, their joy returns. And then they go on this ongoing journey. And I think it was probably only when the Holy Spirit came that really that deeper understanding of revelation came by the Holy Spirit. So I'll stop there. I'm not sure if the video was slightly out of sync. I'm sorry if that was the case. I don't know why. Might be something to do with my computer. And sorry if the noise picked up at the beginning. It sort of got quite loud outside the room and it distracted me for a little bit. But bless you. Hope you have a great day and great weekend. Bye for now.